Hey, welcome back YouTube. I hope you had a good Wednesday. We're going to go over 2 trades that I've made this morning and take a look at the entries and exits. As always, if you enjoy this content, please feel free to subscribe and like the video. I'm going to get some new equipment here shortly in the next few days, so hopefully the quality is going to be a little bit better with the video and hopefully some more editing equipment as well. That way these will get a little bit sharper. Alright, let's go ahead and look at those charts. Hey guys, we're back with our first trade of the day. Only made 2 trades today, so this recap shouldn't take too long. Did trade a little bit after 10, but it was because I stayed in this first trade a little bit long and just pulled out profits. So we're going to take a look at NIO and my entry and see what we have. Alright, NIO, first of all, they had a catalyst this morning, a offering that they were going to have. I think it was around 1.2 billion. I can't remember the exact number, but normally when there is a direct to market offering, you're going to see a slump. Now this isn't always the case because sometimes a stock is just too strong, but I would say because NIO has been running up the past few days, it has been very bullish. I was already expecting a pullback, so that was what was in the back of my mind. And as you can see here, looking at the 1-minute chart, that is exactly what happened at the open. Now, I am not a fan of trading the first candle just because I've gotten burned by doing that too many times. So what I normally like to do if I'm very focused and disciplined is I'll let the stock shake out a little bit and let the indecision happen. And then when I have my levels, I'll wait for it to come down and hit that level that I'm looking for and then take my entry. And thankfully that's what I did this morning, and I was rewarded with a good trade. So let's jump in and look at my entry. Okay, so we are at the 934 mark on NIO this morning. As you can see, we were at this level here, and I will go ahead and move my picture that way we can see exactly what the prices are. There we go. So the price this morning before the bell was right here, and we were sitting right around $39.50. And as you can see, the candle right before the bell completely sold off. It looks like everybody wanted to bail out before the bell rang. Obviously they were scared. Everybody was scared. They wanted to jump out as soon as possible. So we saw some sell-off volume right before the bell rang. And then once it did open up, we had a huge red candle right at the open. And then on the second candle, it looked as if you saw folks trying to jump back in and buy the fear. That's exactly what happened. Now you could have taken this long off of the fear sale and went north, but honestly, I didn't really want to go long on NIO this morning just because of the catalyst. So what I did is I kind of let it shake out, and then I waited for 2 candles for it to come back down to my favorite entry point, the VWAP. And this is exactly what we have right here. We had the VWAP, a huge candle coming down. Now again, we didn't have a lot of volume on these candles, as you can see from down here, but I was very confident in this entry. We had all the indicators telling us that this was at least moving lower, and if it did want to pop back up over the VWAP at least once before it made the full move down, I would at least have a good entry point and a good stop point. That way, even if I did take a loss, it wouldn't be a huge loss, maybe a 10-cent loss or something like that. And as you can see, this EMA here was trending down. Everything is trending down on NIO from the bell. So we got this entry here, and this was right around 39. I can't remember the exact, I'm trying to get here. Yeah, it was right around 39.10. I think my full average, right around the 39.10 mark. And what exactly happened is once it lost VWAP on the way back down, it continued down in a very large fashion. My first portion, I quartered out. All of these are quarters, so I took a 500 share position here, and I quartered out every single one of these times because I was just confident that this stock was going to continue down. So here we have my first exit, which was around a 20-cent gain, and then here, and as you can see here, I want to also draw these lines. They're a little bit thin, so it's hard to see. But this line right here is our S1 Camarilla point. That was my first target. So that's why I took my first quarter here. The second Camarillo pivot was here. So I already had this level and this candle in between, so I felt really comfortable in this range right here. So I went ahead and quartered out here, and then I took the third quarter here. It kind of moved back up. Obviously, you're going to see some bounce off of this support 2 line. So that really didn't surprise me, but thankfully I had this entry way up here at VWAP, so there was no way that I was going to move my stop loss down here. I mean, already had this entry. It was going to have to really force me to sell this. So I had the conviction with the catalyst and the entry to just sit on this stock. And that's exactly what I did. I don't think I've held a stock this long in a really long time. So here, as it curled back down, bounced off of S1, I quartered out here and again here. And this was pretty much my level where I wanted to go ahead and take out a lot of my shares, just because I wasn't sure what was going to happen if it got back down around the S2 mark. I was here, as you can see, I took my last 2 share sizes out down around 38.64. I wasn't sure if it was going to find some support and then move back up this way. So I was like, okay, I've been in this trade for over 10 minutes, which is extremely long for me to hold a trade. Normally I hold a trade for maybe 3 minutes max. So I did have my stop loss set, so I could have just left it there. But again, I wanted to go ahead and pull my profits out. I had already hit a really nice target, and honestly, I felt really good about it. So that's why I went ahead and pulled everything out. Now we'll go ahead and scroll out, and as you can see, today has not been kind to NIO. And they eventually did lose this level and then moved on down to 38. And I think right now, as we speak, they may be below 38. So unfortunately, NIO did lose a lot of positive momentum that they built up for the past few trading sessions. I think tomorrow morning, I may keep an eye on NIO for a rebound. Maybe not a very large rebound, because the catalyst that they announced is still a pretty big catalyst. So I'm going to try to look at some levels and see if maybe I want to continue to move lower, or maybe if we want to try a small portion just to see if it'll bounce. At any rate, we want to see what happens after hours and pre-market tomorrow morning. But yeah, that was my first trade on NIO, and a really successful trade. Probably one of the best ones I've had in a while, just because there were so many factors that came into play on this trade. The biggest one being a catalyst. That is the number one thing that you should always keep in the back of your mind, no matter if it's to the short side or long side. It can really affect a lot of people, and that's exactly what it did. And thankfully, that catalyst coincided with one of my favorite strategies, which is letting the stock shake out for about 5 minutes and then seeing which way it's going to go past the VWAP and go ahead and just diving in. Let's go ahead and move over to my second trade of the day. That was on DraftKings. I'd already had the profit off of NIO, and I didn't want to give any profits back. That is one of the worst things you can do psychologically to yourself. It's kind of like winning $10,000 at the casino, or working hard for all this money and then making a stupid decision and just giving it all back. So what I didn't want to do was give back these NIO profits. We'll jump over to DraftKings and see the trade I took, which I thought was kind of safe, and it was also a smaller size for sure. Let's go to DraftKings. All right, here we are on DKNG, otherwise known as DraftKings, the gambling stock, who also moves with PIN. And there was another one, I think it was FUBU, that had a catalyst this morning, which is one of the reasons the chat room wanted to have a look at DraftKings. They sometimes move along with other stocks in that sector and kind of have a little bit of empathy with them. So this is why I had my eye on this, and I was waiting for it to be called out in the chat room. And as I said before, I didn't want to give any of my NIO profits back, so I kept my eye open for the only other strategy that I trade, which I feel mostly comfortable with, and that is really the failure to move to a high of day, and can coincide with the failure of an ABCD pattern. On this particular trade, I had a failure of the high of day, and I also want to show you the level, and let's go ahead and circle that trade and show you everything that I was seeing. Here was my entry right around this area here. And we are sitting right at 64.5. As you remember from my last video, one of the biggest things I like to look at other than EMAs and VWAPs is dollars. Quarters, half dollars, and obviously 75 cents when we're looking at stuff like this as somewhat of a level that can be used as support or resistance. And this also coincided exactly with the R2 Camarilla pivot. So one thing that was concerning, if you look down here, we had 3 very large green volume bars, which coincided with this move off of VWAP. You can tell a lot of people bought this bounce off of VWAP right here. They wanted to smash this thing through the ceiling. So I promise you, there were a lot of people that took this entry, this dip buy right here on this candle, and then just pushed this on up here. Exactly what happened. Now we already had this level established right here, which was sitting right here. Now again, it's not to the penny, but as you can see, this is where the first high touched right around the 9:33 time mark, and then it came back right around that level here, which is right in between 9:48 and 9:50. And as you can see, it double topped and was never able to move on past that price range. So I looked up and I saw that it was moving up again, and I'm like, okay, either 2 things are going to happen, and there's only 2 things that can happen. Either it goes up and there's so much momentum that it just rips through that level. All the people that are going short are going to back out, and then it's just going to rip higher. Or there's going to be not enough momentum, and then what you're going to see is people get scared, and then they just start selling their shares. That's what I bet on, and that's exactly what happened. So my entry here was on a lower volume candle from the previous. Although it was still green, you can see that it was a doji, which showed me that there was a lot of indecision. Also, it was exactly at this top that I was looking at from the previous high before here. Now, I told you yesterday that I really like 10-cent stops because it's just a comfortable number and easy to visualize when you're in a trade. So when I took this at around 64.50, I had already in the back of my mind that if this stock popped up and it held above this level right around here, which would have been about 64.60, I was going to go ahead and bail out because I was not going to give back my profits. I sat here and I was patient. And what happened is there was just not enough. And again, it's hard to show you on this because obviously you can't see my L2 or my time and sales ticker. But this did end up completely losing the momentum on this next candle. And that's where I went ahead and started partialing out. So once I started partialing out, I had my targets very well established. I already knew that I was going to start partialing out at every single one of these levels because I had a small amount, so it wasn't really going to kill me if I took a larger amount out and just took the small profits. I was fine with that. So what I did here is I went ahead and I grabbed a quarter here at this EMA, and then I also grabbed a quarter right here as it bounced off of this and tried to push higher. Fortunately, I did not put any kind of stop losses or move them down, and I was able to just sit back and enjoy the ride as this move completely tanked all the way to the VWAP. This was a beautiful move. A beautiful loss from R2 all the way to the VWAP. And the last partial that I took was right around here, which was the 50 EMA. And that was pretty much it. That was the trade. Obviously, it wasn't as big of a winner as the NIO trade was. This was a very positive trade for me because it was one of my favorite patterns. I love going short when a stock fails to hit high of day. And as you can see, this is exactly what happened. Now, later on the day, it continued to move around and do some different things. I wasn't interested in it because we were at 10 o'clock. That's normally when I like to get out and go ahead and be done with the day. So around 30 minutes of the day, I was able to make 2 really successful trades and not give any of my money back. I felt like this was really what I wanted to focus on and also hone my edge on these 2 strategies for sure. This is 2 of the ones that I'm very confident in. And I'm sure if I went and looked at the 5-minute and also tried to correlate there would probably be a lot of similar moves that you could also look at. Thank you guys. I really appreciate you going along with me on this journey. Like I said, I am investing in some better equipment. That way I can kind of upgrade these videos as I go along, continue to produce content, and continue to show you guys what I'm working on. Thanks for watching.